In terms of your position in the division of tourism, how do you feel about where we are for Carnival in terms of readiness? We spoke about security and all of that, but in terms of people buying into the product, the event itself, what is it feeling like and sounding like in your division?
Well, any carnival is an exciting time and exciting period. I myself went to Runaway yesterday for work purposes as well, just to look at the number of patrons, the number of persons that came out, and that's the middle of the week, and Tobago is usually doing party in the middle of the week, and the number of persons that I saw there signals that we are ready. The season has started, and it's going to be an excellent season. This carnival, Tobago Carnival, has immense economic value to Tobago. We are expecting upwards of 30,000 persons to come onto the island. The Port Authority has added additional sailings to facilitate the carnival, and at a very conservative spend, if you have 30,000 persons coming to the island and they spend $1,000, and that's a very conservative spend. That's $30 million coming onto the island. So we see the value that the carnival has, and I'm absolutely positive we're going to pretty much start off the carnival week with Blue Food, which we will speak about later. And the activities that are going to happen on the island will drum up much excitement, and I expect much involvement. And again, the basis of the Tobago Carnival and the most important thing of the Tobago Carnival is safety. We started those safety meetings with ACP Hazel, pretty much heading those. We have had a seamless transition to ACP Sobero. Mr. ACP Hazel still is involved in the planning, but fortnightly we started monthly, but they are now fortnightly as the festival is getting nearer, because as I said before, and I will continue to drive home, we want you all to have fun, but we want everyone to have safe fun.
Absolutely, because it is very, very important. I mean, on Monday morning, you have to go to work, right? You have to drop the children to school. So you want to be safe. You don't want to hear of any incidents where you have to be dealing with situations. And I hope that the TTPS, have positioned themselves in such a way to deal with things that can happen as it relates to reveling taking place there on the streets from Friday. I know, as I'm mentioning Friday, I know the Mud is Alive was moved from Saturday to Friday. So tell us a little bit about that transition.
Okay, well, on Saturday, there's Rhythm, Steel and Powder, which is the Trinbago-Tobago region event, and there's also Night Mass. And Mud was carded to be on Saturday as well. That would have caused a very congested Saturday night. So conversations were had with the promoters of Mud is Life to bring Mud to Friday, which would create a situation where Friday would pretty much be Mud is Life, Mud Night. The intention is for us in Tobago to have Mud as Jab is to Grenada. Right? And if that is the situation, we have to be more specific and more careful in the way that we approach the situation. And I would like to say a hearty thank you to the Mud is Life promoters for moving their event in such notice. And we have to push and help them to get things ready for Friday night. Now, it was not Mud's fault that it has to be moved, and I know a lot of persons would have planned for Saturday night, and for that we apologize for the late movement. But the move was necessary for the overall success of the carnival, not only this year, but going forward.
And I like what you said, that you want Mud to be to Tobago what Jab is to Grenada. So it causes a focus, an intentional focus, to ensure that it's a separate product that can be marketed in that way. So, I'm in agreement with the individualized event itself with the focus on Mud.
And the time of the Mud is Life event now allows for persons to go to the Mud and then transition into their bands for Juvie, because it would start at pretty much 11 p.m. Friday and finish before the Juvie.
Absolutely good planning and good thoughts going into that then. As it relates to Carnival, is there anything else that we need to know of that you want to share before we wrap up?
So we would have Soca Titans on Wednesday at Market Square, 7 p.m. We then move on to Tuco Calypso Finals at Magdalena Grand On Thursday, we have the Monarchs of Mass on Friday, the 25th, starting at 8 p.m. Once again at Market Square. Well, I let the cut out the hat with the rhythm, steel and powder, but I would start at 5 p.m. proceeding from Coast Guard Base up to Market Square. That would finish at around 8:30, and then we would then have night mass starting at 9 p.m. finishing at 2 a.m. And then Sunday, well, we have the big hurrah where we have the creme de la creme, where we have conventional mass starting at 10 a.m.
Good rundown there for the Carnival week, and of course partygoers and persons who are participating and supporting. You have a packed week there of activities, and I do hope that you come out in your numbers to support what is being produced by the Tobago Festivals Commission and the Division of Tourism there, and all the promoters here on the island of Tobago, a beautiful carnival product. So come out in your numbers and be a part of it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go for a short break before we continue conversation. This morning we're going to stay with Assemblyman Niall George as we talk about Blue Food Festival. But before we start that, we go for a break and we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Now here what's going on. You see this section? It makes me feel to move. You know why? It's called Pina Colada. I like Pina Colada. Oh, forget just the girl them crave for. They really need it too. When you play with oh my goodness. And as the name says, it is as creamy as it's sweet. Never wanna leave cause the drinks them running for throw. Gonna really feel a vibe every time you set it right down on a band like this. Man, it's nothing like this. Not you be like you. Again, jam me set something and nobody like you. And every single time we touch, you know I never stop. This is Pina Colada, something nice with a little bit of spice, and of course, not once, but we're gonna do it twice. Tell a cruise, make the banner. We are on the road with Pina Colada. Boom, boom.
Blue food came from dasheen locally. We look at dasheen, which when you boil it, you get a blue coloration.
Are you ready for Tobago Blue Food Festival 2024? Join us on October 20th for an unforgettable celebration of Tobago's unique cuisine. Enjoy live cooking demonstrations, local music, and cultural performances throughout the day. This festival has something for every palate. It's all happening October 20th in Bloody Bay. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info and make sure you're part of this one-of-a-kind culinary event.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We continue conversations this morning in studio with Assemblyman Niall George, Assistant Secretary in the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation. We were talking about Carnival, which takes place from next week. Of course, the pre-events have already begun here on the island of Tobago. And before we switch gears a little bit, I think there's a little bit more information we want to share before we move on to our next topic.
Yes, in keeping with safety, we all have to be very respectful and understanding of using one space. And the EMA has a very zero tolerance approach to noise pollution, and there would be some safe zones along the route. Now, the route would start at Coast Guard Base, head towards the Orange Hill traffic lights, then to the Wilson Road traffic lights, back into Scarborough, turn to Market Square, then you turn right, and then you head down Old Wilson Road to the Coast Guard Base. There's a specific zone between what is known as yachts and off to the highway, and that is to facilitate no disturbances to the hospital. We have to take care of our sick. The health of Tobagonians is paramount, and there will be zero tolerance to noise pollution in this area. So the decibels will have to go down, And we all must understand the reason for that. We want, as I said, we want to have fun. We want to have clean fun. And we don't want any casualties coming out of the carnival festivities. So please have consideration for those that are in the hospital and adhere to the EMA rules.
Please and thank you, and I really appreciate that this thought was put into that as well. So let us adhere to what is been established so that we can have a good time. We don't want to be kept back because of disobedience to the rules that have been set. All right, so we're shifting gears a little bit, and we want to talk about Blue Food Festival, which is upcoming, taking place on Sunday in Bloody Bay there. Blue Food, I think, is a pillar on the island of Tobago. The festival, has grown year after year, and we're in a good place this year. And I want to talk about what can be expected that is happening for Tobago Blue Food Festival this year.
Blue food, what more can you see? You're going to have culinary culture. You're going to have farmers displaying their produce, and there would be many competitions. But Blue Food is not just about the actual Bloody Bay site. It's about the journey to the site. As the chief says, you would be moving along the better side of the island, many picturesque beaches, and we have taken advantage of that by putting down picture spots in the villages on the way to Blue Food. So I'd be taking my family. I would advise most people to take their family as well. Have a treat, capture moments along the way, and when you get there, you would then be feasted to the many varieties of products and produce and culinary foods that can be produced from the king of tubers, the Dasheen. There would be competition and activities. So there would be activities for the kids, such as bouncy castles and petting zoos. There would be Dasheen competition, the best Dasheen cake, the best Dasheen wine, best Dasheen pie, best Dasheen drink, best Dasheen dish, best Dasheen booth. There would also be competitions for the crowd. Best dressed male, best dressed female. So please dress to impress, because you will be judged. There will also be the biggest Blue Food posse. So we are encouraging you all to come out in your numbers, dress and represent where you come from, come out, have a good time. And again, safety is paramount to us. So don't have too much fun, because the drive is a lengthy one. So if you are having a drink, please keep it within the allowable limit, because you would have to go home or designate a driver. Designating a driver would be the safest option, of course. There are also village farmers competition, which is the biggest Dasheen, that's by weight, and the biggest bunch of planting by weight as well. And there's a competition for the biggest crayfish catch.
Wow, wow. So I see a lot of attractions here for Blue Food, and I want to go back a little bit to when you said the journey to Bloody Bay is also part of the festival, where you said you'll be putting photo spots along the way. So tell us a little bit about the photo spots and what people can look out for on the way up. So
they would be strategically placed in some of the most scenic backgrounds that you have. You look around the place, you see the scenes of Palatavie, of Castara, of Englishman's Bay, and without there having a Blue Food Festival, tourists who come here naturally flock to these spots to have photographs, to get a slice of Tobago that they can keep with them when they go back. So we are encouraging each and every one of us. Sometimes when you have something easily accessible to you, you forget how beautiful it is. So I'm saying to us Tobagonians and to others coming here, let us enjoy this weekend. Go to the Blue Food festivities and have a good time.
So is there going to be like signs, stop here, take a photo here? Is it going to be like that?
There are Blue Food signs,
right,
where you would be able to
stop and take
a photo on the Blue Food ring.
That is absolutely amazing. A good idea there, of course. For us, as you rightfully said, sometimes we take things for granted. You might be thinking, listen, I have to get to Blue Food and I'm just driving all the way up. And it's good that you've provided that avenue where people can stop and take a photo. For memory's sake, you look back and they say, let me see what Blue Food 2024 was like, the way up to Blue Food there. In terms of I know the driving up and the driving back down. I know you spoke about safety. I want you to reiterate the importance of persons driving up and driving back down, especially on the road. You know, it's not a straight road. And so we have to be very cautious in how we're going to get there. Some people try to get there as early as possible to get a good park. Some people rush and, you know, so I want you to address the situation of driving to and from the Blue Food.
And just like Carnival, in terms of Blue Food, we'd like everyone to get to the Blue Food Festival safely and return to their destinations and their homes safely. Safety is paramount, so there'll be shuttles, because obviously everyone cannot park at Bloody Bay. There'll be shuttles to get you directly into the venue from Bloody Bay and back out. And we are asking persons to be kind and considerate of each other when driving on the road. Please be careful. It's a windy road. So if you know that you want to get there for a certain time, leave home earlier. Please don't have us rushing there. And please do not overdo the drinking of alcohol. We know in our culture, it's part of our culture, but please do it in moderation.
And talking about the shuttles, what time, where can people pick up shuttles from? Do you have that information for us now? Or?
No, I do not have the direct information, but it's usually done from Bloody Bay.
Okay. All right. So you can access that service as well, just in case you want to, you know, enjoy yourself, and just make sure that you utilize the infrastructure that is put in place to ensure your safety there at Bloody Boat. Some of the attractions in terms of, I know there's going to be an artist.
Yes.
So of course people are going for the entertainment part of it as well. You know, the Blue Food production, because I call it a production, it's a really, really good one for the island of Tobago, and I'm hoping that the Blue Food Festival could really expand into something that is much greater than what it is already, great as it is, where you have the display of all the local foods there. But in terms of the artists, people go for that as well, for the entertainment aspect of it. So who can we expect to be gracing the stages? I know we saw some stuff on social media, but who can we expect to see?
So first of all, there'll be many local artists. It's too many to name here, so... but the head acts would be Nadia Batson and Band.
I know some people are very, very excited to hear that name. I know she has a lot of followers here on the island of Tobago. And so we look forward to, a great production. What are you looking forward to the most in terms of the attendance at Blue Food Festival?
Well, traditionally, it's a trip. It's an event. It's an opportunity to go to the north side of the island. In terms of the entertainment, I have developed a keen eye for the local talent coming out of Tobago. So that's the part that I'm most looking forward to. I was at the Soca Titans audition. I've personally seen Miss Phillips working with them at the boot camp. And if anyone could remember, after working with Miss Phillips, the level of performances were raised, the standard, the bar was raised. So I'm looking forward to Soca Titans as well. So there are little things that most people aren't observant to that I have now become keenly attracted to.
A good eye there. That's not what I was expecting, but I'm happy to realize that you're actually looking for what is local to Tobago and how we could develop the art form and the people here on the island of Tobago. So I'll be looking also to see what they're bringing to the stage. I know we have a lot of talent on the island of Tobago, and so I'm looking forward to a good day at Blue Food Festival. And just in case you were wondering, yes, I will be there on Sunday to enjoy the Blue Food Festival this year. I haven't been in so many years, and I'm looking forward to what is happening there. In closing, is there anything additional you'd like to share with us?
I'd just like to say to all Tobagoans in this festive season, again, I'd like us to have an enjoyable time, but I'd like each and every one of us to come out of this time in proper health and keep the carnival safe, have an enjoyable time. To our international guests, come have a slice of our culture, come have a slice of our beauty, come have a slice of our carnival, so that when you go back, you can tell others about it and invite them to come to Carnival 2025.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman Niall George. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Assemblyman Niall George, Assistant Secretary in the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, as we speak about Carnival 2024 and the Blue Food Festival, which is upcoming on Sunday and then next week. Thank you so much for staying with us as we went through this conversation this morning, and we do hope you can continue to stay with us as we speak more in studio this morning. But before we head on to our next interview, we We have to go for a short break, and we invite you and all of your friends to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Blue food came from dasheen locally. We look at dasheen, which when you boil it, you get a blue coloration.
Are you ready for Tobago Blue Food Festival 2024? Join us on October 20th for an unforgettable celebration of Tobago's unique cuisine. Enjoy live cooking demonstrations, local music, and cultural performances throughout the day. This festival has something for every palate. It's all happening October 20th in Bloody Bay. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info and make sure you're part of this one-of-a-kind culinary event.
Tobago Carnival is just around the corner, and Bethel Credit Union has you covered. Whether you're prepping for costumes, parties, giveaways, or a staycation, it's all within your reach with our Carnival loan sale. For as little as $900 a month, yes, $900 a month, you can get the funds you need to make this Carnival season unforgettable. At Bethel Credit Union, we're here to make your celebration dreams a reality. Visit us today or call 639-8226 for more information. Normal lending criteria applies because we see you at BCU.
Swap done. Throw hammer. Track 7. Tobago have a plan.
Let me go now. Yes.
Yes.
Let me go.
If you want life in the islands, come through Tobago.
Let me go.
Come through Tobago.
Let me go.
Escape Tobago. If you want vibes in the islands, come through Tobago. Come through Tobago. Escape Tobago. Wanted this all of my life. One place with all of my life. Everything that I need is all on the island. You can come in, stay more than a while. So go catch your friends, bring something, and pack up your bag, let's go. If you're looking elsewhere, na 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 na. If you're going elsewhere, na na na.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
How it's gonna go. They better look up and look, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up and look. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna. Look up below, 'cause this is your show. Live more.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning and welcome back to the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. We're just at 7:43 a.m. So if you're getting yourself to work for 8 a.m., you have just about 17 minutes to drop the children off to school safely and to get yourself to work. Remember, drive on our nation's roads very safely this morning. We want you to get there in one piece to get your work done this morning. All right, we continue conversations this morning in studio, and we speak this morning with Dr. Denise Sawyer Angus, and she's the political leader of the IDA. And we're going to be talking about, is Tobago ready for Carnival 2024? Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you here this morning in studio with us as we go through the places and we talk about the important topics about things happening here on the island of Tobago. So we're talking about Carnival 2024. We know some of the events have already started happening. You know, yesterday there was a runaway event, and then, you know, there are so many things happening on the island leading up to the big weekend here in Tobago. Do you think that Tobago is positioned, ready to host this grand show, even though some events have already started taking place? We're talking about things like the budget, the infrastructure, the collaboration of the agencies. Do you think we're in a good place to host this event, in the third edition of this event?
I think we should have been in a much better place because this is the third time, and opportunity every time to get it right and do things better. And I was a bit disappointed, like many others, that we started off with, again, poor planning and execution of the activities that are very last minute. You starting out by just telling us this week of the budget. How do you know what you're planning for if you don't have a proper budget? None of us, I don't know who leaves their home, goes to the supermarket not knowing what is the maximum money you're going to be spending this week on your groceries. Do you just go in there and just look around and shop and then decide to go to the ATM and take out your money? Or are you going to practice proper planning by knowing what is your budget, what's the maximum you intend to spend in the grocery, and what are the items that are absolutely necessary that you have to take home? And if you're looking at it that way, then, you know, persons are not ready to manage this carnival, to really maximize and get the most out of it. Now, you're going to have people, you're going to have the events, but are we maximizing and getting the most out of what we're spending to get?
And in terms of maximizing and getting the most returns on it, what are some of the things you are hoping, or if you were in the position to plan in such a way to get the maximum benefits, what are some of the returns you're looking for in terms of the spend, the 9 million spend, or whatever the budget might be in future editions of the carnival? What are the returns you're hoping to get?
Well, let us look at it from this way. You know, you're putting on any country putting on an event or carnival. You need, number one, economic growth. You need to show economic growth coming out of the exercise. And therefore, I would hope that they have measurements in place to determine what has been the economic growth given the spend that we have had this year. We are also looking at the cultural preservation, promotion, you know, growth of our cultural fraternity and the creativity coming out of that. You're also looking for global recognition, because with global recognition now, that then again fuels your economic growth in the future, your ability to attract investments into the island. And so those are the three pillars you want to operate. But you can't operate without having proper evaluation and an opportunity to look at statistics. So they should be able to share what are the statistics coming out of last year. How do we improve on those statistics? To date, we have not had those statistics. Those are not in place to be measured. Is anyone measuring, you know, the fact that you're having Blue Food this weekend and Carnival next weekend? How many people have decided to stay on the island for the whole week? How is that impacting? Are your groceries seen an up in expenditure with people coming in, or even, you know, your local vendors And that's going to be something that they need to measure even within the Blue Food period and within the Carnival period. Are you seeing an increase in the number of vendors who are experiencing gains within that time? Or are you seeing people who are coming with better planning for their budgets, who saying, oh, we're going to Tobago to spend Carnival, but we only spending X amount. So when the money done, we ain't spending no more. So I think there has to be some measurements in place to know where we are going.
In terms of the carnival is pretty young. We're in the third year. Some might say we're young, some might say, yeah, but it's 3 years to make the assessment. Where are you on that? Is it that we are a little bit young, or you're thinking by now we should be able to have, as you mentioned, the statistics to make better plans, as you say, in terms of getting statistics and numbers and knowing what to expect?
This year is the turning point. Okay? It's 3 years. This year is the turning point to know where our Tobago Carnival will go or not go. This year is the opportunity to really do the statistical analysis that has not done before, to understand how do we take it to the next level. If not, we can have a very failed product on our hands going forward, because after this year, you'll be branded either survival, failure, can't thrive. So this year is a crucial year for all.
But what are some of the things you think would be like a challenge? Because I know you're talking about we measuring, comparing last year to this year. One of the major challenges, the carnival is not just for the people who are on the island of Tobago. There are people who have to come into the island, whether it's from Trinidad or from the region, the Caribbean region, or international destinations. And so is it fair, or is it accurate to say that the planning, they need to probably they do need to revisit the planning in terms of ensuring all the bases are covered? But when you have external agencies, who have the authority, to assist in terms of adding more flights, as the lead up to the event. Do you think that conversation is adequately had, or do you think that more can be done? And, we're looking at the persons who have the authority to so do, which is, of course, Carl and the representatives, to have the conversation and negotiate for things like that, because I believe that might be a hindrance to the numbers that come into the island to participate on the events that we host here.
When did the negotiations for Tobago Carnival 2024 begin with Carl? Did they begin the day after Carnival 2023? Or did we begin 3 months ago? You can't begin those discussions 3 months ago. Those discussions have to start taking place now for Carnival 2025, because you're in the experience of inadequacies. You've also had 3 years of data to go to Carl from now to say, listen, this is what is absolutely needed. And if you're not getting the commitment out of Carl, you have to start looking at different avenues. Are there different airlines coming out of the different Caribbean islands or elsewhere that you can entice to fly directly to Tobago? So those are some of the ideas that you have to start thinking bigger about, because it cannot just be, okay, I went to Carl from 3 months ago and they're not putting up flights or whatever. Start that conversation now for next year. The conversation can't begin 9 months from now. Start the conversations now for next year, and determine whether Carl can satisfy that, or you have to start looking elsewhere right away.
And I think that conversation is a year-round conversation, in fact, because I don't think that the conversation is just for Carnival. I think it intensified. But as I mentioned in the previous interview, from January to December, we have the same issue with Carl over and over and over, where you always hear people talking about not being able to come to Tobago or go to Trinidad, back and forth, as the case might be. I want to
Can they encourage charters? I mean, people take charter flights to go to different places. Can you now create charter flights for this activity coming forward?
So the conversation has to expand to ensure
to
that
expand.
it can accommodate the needs, the demands for the period and the seasons that we're in. The $9 million budget for Carnival, do you think it is sufficient to host the type of event, the production that we want to have here on the island for the period for Carnival?
But how are you going to know whether it's too much, too little? You know, because right now you're talking about spending $9 million in 2 weeks. No, $11.5 million. It's not $11.5 million in 2 weeks. How do you spend $11.5 million in 2 weeks? Where is that money going? Is it going to stakeholders? Is it going to infrastructure? Is it going to paying past bills, that are still outstanding for Carnival 2023? How is that money being spent within 2 weeks? If you don't have a budget from the start and knowing how you're going to be spending that budget, to now come and say, okay, you have 11.5 million to spend in 2 weeks. You're not going to have appropriate spending. You're not going to know, did this go in the right way? Was it too much? Was it too little? It's a recipe for a disaster when you operate that way in terms of your budgeting.
For a successful Carnival, right? Let's say you are given the opportunity, or you're in the position of influence or decision making, and you're sitting at the helm, and you are planning for Carnival 2025. Where would you begin?
When is we have it on the Carnival is what, the 16th and the 17th?
I'm talking about October Carnival.
No, October Carnival.
Right.
This
So you're
year
planning
is what?
The 26th.
The 26th. Yes, it
26th,
finishes the 27th on the 20th.
So you're going to start planning on the 20th. But what is the conversation going to be like? So you start, okay, we've had Carnival, we come out of Carnival, it's Monday morning, you call a meeting with all your stakeholders. Yes. What are the things you are going to discuss on that Monday morning?
We need the data. We need the data to know what took place in Carnival 2025. We need a full assessment of all of the data being gathered, and that is where you begin. How many people came to the island? How the hotels were done? Were there any issues? How did the stakeholders fare? All of those conversations have to happen. How many people got left on an air bridge? How many people who said they were going to come did not come? And that information you could also get from the hotels, because if they have had bookings that got cancelled, then that can give you an indication. But that's where you need to start the planning from the day after. I remember when I went into being the Secretary of Community Development and Culture, and at the time you had the Festival Commission, and I would like to say, I used to call it bat up and catch, because they finish Heritage, and that is when they now start a plan for Carnival, and that is when, and I said, no, you can't have it that way. These are two very key festivals. You must have a year-long committee that is dedicated to focusing on developing the heritage product. You must have a year-long committee focused on dedicated to the Carnival product. So we separated the two committees. So from day one, you have a committee that is focused on building your Carnival product, growing the Carnival product, because it's not just about, visitors to the island. You also have to make sure that your stakeholders are ready to take full advantage of what is being offered, and let me really congratulate persons who are really promoting our local artists, because in some aspects, they have been left behind sometimes. And I want to really commend, I believe it's Mr. Iwa George and his new place called Vibes, formerly Shade, for having a total local cast, as part of this whole activity, part of the whole activities during this period, so they can showcase all the local talent in Tobago concerning the soca artists. Similarly, the Carnival, the band leaders, they they're always on top with their game. But we also need to do some work in promoting and exposing our the mass product. And we also need to define, what do we consider Tobago mass product to be? Is there a space for, showcasing our traditional inside of the beads and everything else that you have happening? And of course, the mud event. So it's again, pulling that data right the day after, sitting down, analyzing and saying, okay, how do we build on that going forward? How do we disappear the challenges? If we started out with 11.5 this year, was 11.5 enough? Was it too much? And if you start out there, you may find that you have more investors coming in. So it's not just 2.5 in sponsorship you may begin to get more because you're planning earlier. People see a clear vision. And I want to commend, I actually got a flyer yesterday of a group that has already planned their jazz event. It's golf and jazz. And they're sending out flyers already for jazz. So we have to start planning ahead of time. That's when you have better planning for events. That is where you get more efficient expenditures and you can have a better procurement process, because I'm now looking 2 weeks to go what procurement plus process we are using. And we know we have these long drawn out procurement processes now. How are we executing within that time for 2 weeks?
Thank you so much. I wish we had more time to continue this conversation this morning, but I do appreciate your input here as we prepare for Carnival 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Dr. Denise Sawyerfat Angus as we went through the paces of Is Tobago ready for Carnival 2024, and she also gave her opinions on how we prepare for 2025. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is where we end the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, but it's not where we end our programming. We head on over to GMT, and as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show.
Grief is really about phases. Some days you'll be good, some days you won't. Some days you'll feel on top of the world, and some days you'll feel like, you're in a pit and you can't come out. So I want to encourage people that as they go through phases, to be compassionate towards themselves, to be gentle, and to always reach out, because social support is really what people need to help to bear the weight of this heaviness of loss. Support is what helps a woman, a family, people that are grieving overcome the loss that comes with losing an infant, whether it's miscarriage, stillbirth, or a neonatal death. And so today I'm hoping to help to break the silence, to normalize this. 1 in 4 women would experience some form of infancy or pregnancy loss.
The founder, Makita, is my cousin, and she was very supportive of Hannah Rose and I when we went through our loss in 2022. Even though it's naturally a painful experience for men as well, I think, as a man, it's really hard to fathom how painful of an experience it is for the women and the mothers who go through that experience. And community is extremely important. So the awareness for me, raising the awareness through the organization, is equally as important as the individual help that it gives to the people who go through those experiences.
Having the experience myself, it showed me a depth of pain that I think only others who have really experienced it could really know. And so it's really a healing thing to be able to connect with other people who could relate to the experience.
We know that we cannot be silent anymore. It is time for us to speak. The international theme this year is Together We Care. It is centered on the message that self-care is the most important integral way to show we care. In fact, it is essential if we are going to be able to raise awareness and speak out about pregnancy loss.
Production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
This International Day of Peace reminds us the solutions of cultivating peace are in our hands. Cultivating a culture of peace means replacing division. It means replacing disempowerment. It means replacing despair. And we replace it with justice, with equality, and hope for all mankind. The universal theme this year is cultivating a culture of peace. And one must say that this theme is most fitting for such a time like this. Agreed? Our goal at the Community Mediation Center is to engender a culture of peace throughout our little island, Tobago.
I think it is critical for us to commemorate this day as we move towards building a more diverse and inclusive society. Peace has to be our foundation.
Given the situation where crime is concerned throughout the country, I think celebrating peace, World International Peace Day, is very vital as a reminder to us as a people that we should live in peace and unity, and that we should appreciate each other as a people.
Peace is a projection of self. Whatever we think, whatever we feel, it projects peace. Peace is very important at this time in Tobago with all the crime happening, and it all stems from home. Charity begins at home. It don't end abroad, but it continues. So with peace within and at the home, it can project outside as an individual.
I want to encourage all of us to actively think about what we do every day. Actively think about every single conversation that we have, every single email that we send, every single whatever that we do, to ensure that it is one that engenders and cultivates peace.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Oh yeah! I said I can't wait. Tobago in October, and
Embark on an adventure to the greatest little island on the planet. Tobago invites you to ritual, revelry, and release.
Whining in the Bago sun, having Bago fun, and Bago drinking rum. We go jump up and carry on.
From October 25th to the 27th, 2024, experience the energetic vibe, the vibrant colors, and the unforgettable spirit of the Tobago Carnival.
Down here in Tobago. In Tobago.
Whether you're tripping down the road or marveling at the beauty and creativity of our artisans, Tobago Carnival is an adventure.
I said I wait and I wait and I wait and I wait for Carnival to come. So I call all my friends, making the plans for the Tobago Carnival fun.
Join us for ritual, revelry, and release. Tobago Carnival 2024, where every moment is memorable.
I said I can't wait for Tobago in October.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix. And you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting conversations, remember, you have a civic duty to help us share the life as we do all that we can do to get back to where we once were. Now, let's have our news in 90 seconds. The government is taking a hands-off approach from compensating Tobago fisherfolk after the February's oil spill, stating the $50 million given to the THA was for its management. Finance Minister Colin Imbert claims received from the THA. Chief Secretary Farley Augustine called the amount insufficient, as fisherfolk claims alone total $47.3 million. However, Energy Minister Stuart Young announced that fisherfolk could seek compensation through the International Oil Pollution Compensation Fund by submitting claims via the Ministry of Finance or directly to the International Oil Pollution Compensation. Additionally, as the government proceeds with implementing the Trinidad and Tobago Revenue Authority, uncertainties surround who will oversee Tobago's revenue collection. Previously managed by the Tobago House of Assembly, revenue operations are now being integrated with those of the Finance Ministry. Although inland revenue officers have been deployed to Tobago, Finance Minister Colin Imbert admitted that a clear structure is still being worked out. Ongoing discussions aim to clarify the Trinidad and Tobago's Revenue Authority's role in Tobago, with Imbert confirming that Tobago's revenue will continue to be deposited into a special THA account. However, leadership and oversight issues remain unsolved. And finally, B-Mobile will serve as a key sponsor for the Tobago's 3rd October Carnival, collaborating with the Tobago Festivals Commission Limited. B-Mobile aims to provide a connected and seamless experience for both local and international visitors, reinforcing its commitment to Tobago's culture and economic development. Beyond the financial support, B-Mobile enhanced its network infrastructure in high-traffic areas to ensure reliable communication and safety throughout events. A signature feature of its sponsorship is the B-Mobile Band on the Road competition, which celebrates Tobago's creativity with categories such as traditional and contemporary mass. And that was our news in 90 seconds. Now, when we hear about the big C, we often think about persons, but we don't think about animals. This morning, we are talking about cancer awareness in animals, and we are having that conversation right here on set with Dr. Todd Denoon. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Chanel. Good morning, Tobago. And of course, I'd like to take this opportunity to say hi, especially to those who have lost ones to breast cancer, those who have been fighting and have won, those who are still fighting, and more specifically to my area of expertise, those who, of course, have been affected by cancer in your very precious patients and pets, and those who have lost, those who survived. Take this opportunity, of course, to send you strength and to send you a good morning.
Excellent. So, Dr. Denoon, in your capacity as veterinary surgeon at the Tobago Animal Hospital, how often or how frequent would you see pet patients with cancer?
Right. So even before we jump into that, I think one of the most important experiences that I have is when we're at a consult and someone comes in and there's this strange thing on their animal and we decide, and we mention that it could be cancer. We often hear pets get cancer, and very much so. Animals do get cancer, and it's very important for us to distinguish that cancer in itself is not a specific disease. It is a situation where we have abnormal growth of cells, and those cells can be, that sort of abnormality could be that they're growing more frequently, they're growing in an abnormal place, abnormal rate, and just generally abnormally. And that situation can lead to a myriad of various presentations and complications. So in terms of breast cancer specifically, or in veterinary medicine, it will be called mammary tumors or mammary cancer. We're speaking more specifically to cats and dogs because they comprise a vast majority of pets within homes. So within the canine population, breast cancer accounts for the #1 most frequently diagnosed cancer in female dogs, whereas about 70% of tumors in cats or female cats would be represented by breast cancer. So it's about the 3rd most frequent in cats, but it's the #1 in female dogs.
All right, good to know. But when I talk about frequency of seeing actual patients here in Tobago, is it something that you see quite often?
Yes. So our practice mainly comprises of dogs. When you look at the two, so breast cancers or tumors are very, very common in dogs. And that is for a number of reasons. There are a number of risk factors involved. So in terms of the numbers in Tobago, it is primarily because of how many people own dogs. But in terms of risk factors, you have reproductive status being one of the main functions or main influences of cancer occurrences. So breast cancer is ultimately hormonally influenced. So if your pet is not spayed, you have a higher risk of them having breast cancer. And of course, when we talk about cancer, the main sort of categorizations that are going to be sort of important to you beyond the type of cancer, because again, we mentioned cancer could happen in multiple places, but specific to breast cancer, in this conversation, you're looking at whether it's malignant or whether it's benign. So malignant cancers are the ones that spread, they invade tissues, they cause a lot more complications, whereas benign cancers are just there, easily dealt with. Surgery is generally really effective. They don't really cause a lot of problems unless they're in a really sort of compromising area. But malignant cancers are the ones that you really want to be very mindful of.
Okay, and there are several signs that one can notice on their animals, specifically their dogs or their cats, that can be key indicators that that animal has cancer. What are those?
Right, so cancer shows up as a lump or a mass on the breasts or associated to the breasts. So for cats and dogs, their breast or their mammary tissues are under, well, they're four-legged animals, so it'll be on their ventrum or their chest and stomach. So if you're seeing any sort of lump, any sort of hardness, if you're looking at either maybe some ulcerations, any of those abnormalities is something that you should get checked out. All right. And that sort of underscores the importance of a regular checking in at your vet. So a lot of times the masses may not be very obvious. So when you come into a vet, your physical exam, the animal, we palpate, we feel, especially if there's a female dog or cat that we know hasn't been spayed, we check the mammaries to make sure that everything feels okay. All right, so the main thing would generally be that there is some sort of visible mass. Of course, with different cancers, they may not always be external. So of course, regular screenings like blood work, etc., may be important for earlier detection.
Okay, and is this similar to human nature, whereby the cancers can be hereditary, or is it based on particular conditions that can cause cancer in the animals?
Right, so we go back to our risk factors. So there are about 3 main risk factors for cancer occurrences. So not necessarily hereditary. So if you have a mother that has breast cancer, the chances may not necessarily be high for the daughter. But again, predominantly in terms of genetics, you have certain breeds that are predisposed to cancer. So in dogs, those will be German Shepherds, your Poodles, your Dachshunds, your Yorkies. Those have a higher occurrence of breast cancer than other breeds of dogs. In terms of cats, you have your Siamese and your Persians. Siamese tend to have a higher rate of malignant cancers, whereas Persians tend to have a higher rate of benign cancers. And it's important to note in terms of that distinction that in dogs, about 50% of our cancers or mammary tumors tend to be malignant. And of those 50% of those tend to spread. In cats, however, the situation is much different. About 80% of tumors, mammary tumors in cats tend to be malignant. So if you have any sort of abnormal lumps, etc. in your cats, definitely come in as soon as possible.
Excellent. And outside of cancers, what are some frequent diseases that you often see in animals locally?
So I would say a lot of times it's more infectious diseases. Tick fever is very common, primarily because of how common ticks are. And of course, the sort of lack of comprehensive tick and flea prevention. All right. You have leptospirosis, which tends to be an issue during rainy season. And of course, you have sometimes a lot more of trauma because dogs tend not to be well kept. So you have freedom yards uncontained, so you have accidents, etc. happening.
All right, excellent. And even as a pet owner, how can one, try their best to, I know you said that those consistent screenings, coming into the vet and possibly doing the blood work, but what can we do for our pets to ensure that they stay safe and they are healthy?
Right. So again, annual checkups are important. So if you have a puppy, your first things that you would be doing would be your puppy vaccinations, which are generally from 2 months to 4 months. And we do monthly vaccinations. After 4 months, when you have your final puppy vaccine, the next due or vaccine due would be in a year's time. So when you come in, you have the option of doing those blood works, especially as your pet ages, they become a lot more important. So physical exam every year, blood work every year or every other year. If your animal is healthy, of course, if there are other issues going on, you may need to be screened more or check in more often. Beyond that, proper nutrition is going to be very important. Nutrition actually plays a protective role in breast cancers in dogs. So the leaner your body condition is, or your dog's body condition is, it's somewhat more protective. That isn't necessarily seen in cats. So proper nutrition, that would be a chow or really balanced diet. I would advocate for chow because most of us aren't animal nutritionists. And when we cook for taste, not necessarily for nutritional balance.
Right.
Parasite control, so that would be your monthly deworming with any medication that has ivermectin, particularly so you prevent heartworm, your external parasite control, so your fleas and your ticks, and of course, adequate animal husbandry. So that is making sure that they are sheltered well, they have adequate water, they have, for the breed, an environment that caters to their specific functions. All right.
Excellent. Now we're going to take a quick break right here and we'll be back as we continue more of this conversation. See you soon.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise.
Attention members, now is your chance to double or even triple your dividend payment with no increase in your existing loan payment. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to boost your dividends effectively. Whether you're planning a vacation or simply looking to maximize your savings, we've got you covered. Call us today at 639-8226 or 631-1336. Message us on Facebook for more information. Hurry, this offer won't last long. Bethel Credit Union, because we see you at BCU.
Blue food came from dasheen. Locally, we look at dasheen, which when you boil it, you get a blue coloration.
Are you ready for Tobago Blue Food Festival 2024? Join us on October 20th for an unforgettable celebration of Tobago's unique cuisine. Enjoy live cooking demonstrations, local music, and cultural performances throughout the day. This festival has something for every palate. It's all happening October 20th in Bloody Bay. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info and make sure you're part of this one-of-a-kind culinary event.
Soldiers, are you ready for the ultimate mission for Tobago Carnival? It's time to gear up for Army Fed Operation Rocks Glow.
I feel like I run in tongue again. No place like home.
We're taking the vibes out to the countryside, where a premier cast of live entertainment will be pumping all night long. Army Fed Operation Rocks Glow. Join us on Thursday, 24th October at the Sid Gray Sporting Complex, Roxborough, for the high-energy Wear White Soca Bashment Rocks Glow. Army Fed Tobago. Operation Rocks Glow.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up and look, 'cause this is your show. And everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up and look. This is your show. And everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. 'cause this is your show.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. If you're just joining us, I have been chatting with Dr. Denoon, who is the veterinary surgeon at the Tobago Animal Hospital. Now, this morning we have been chatting about cancer awareness in animals, and we've been focusing a bit on cats and dogs. But this morning we want to also touch a bit on the diagnosis. How are these animals diagnosed with cancer?
Right. So again, first is the suspicion of cancer. Animal comes in with swelling that is either close to or in the actual breast. So usually around the nipple or maybe off to the side. So if you have a case like that, then the first thing to do is try to determine what it is. Of course, the breasts or the mammary tissues are a meeting of a number of different tissues. So you can have the skin there, and of course, if there's a mass there, it could be just a skin tumor versus something that is a bit deeper. It might be, again, another type of tumor. So ultimately, the first step in diagnosis is getting screened. After that, you have the option of doing a biopsy. So either that may be a small slice of the tumor, or you may choose to do an operation to remove the tumor all in, as one and send that for histology. And what histopathology is you look at the tissue and you look at the cells in the tissue and how it makes and how is it made up, and that could give you the type of cancer. So again, just like cancer is not a specific disease, breast cancer or mammary tumor is not a specific disease. There are a number of different tumors or a number of different cancers that comprise breast cancer, because there are a number of different tissues that come together to have the functioning lactation system in an animal. All right. So when an animal comes in, again, we're going back to dogs, about 50% of those are generally benign. 50% of them are malignant. However, so depending on how many tumors you find, that would sort of inform the type of surgery that you do. And those surgeries would be either a lumpectomy, so those are very small masses, where you could just cut around and take out that mass and everything generally is still left intact. And that is if the mass is not associated with the actual gland, so very close to or under the nipple. If it is associated with the gland, then you're looking at a mammectomy, so you take out that one gland. If there are multiple tumors involving different glands, so in a dog, you have about 5 different pairs of nipples, and cats around the same amount. So you're looking at either doing a regional mastectomy, so you remove the 2 closest ones, maybe in one side, one place and one place, or if it's a lung, you may take out the entire chain. Okay. All right. So that's in dogs, because again, dogs have a much more variable prognosis, being benign versus malignant. However, with the fact that cats tend to have a large amount of malignant, when a cat is diagnosed, it is usually a full-on removal of the chain. So we remove all the tissue, and that is usually done in a 2-step process. We remove all the mammary tissue on one side, close it up, and within 2 to 4 months, or at some point in time later in veterinary medicine, a lot of times surgeries are limited by the ability of the owner to pay for those surgeries. So we try to meet in the middle. So you do one side and then you do the other side, because of course, removing that much tissue is going to make it a lot more harder to close. All right, so dogs, again, you have a number of different approaches, and of course, the aim is to remove the minimal amount of tissue that is required. So around the tissue and clean margins.
Does that reduce the ability of those pets to reproduce after those surgeries?
So I would say because cancers tend to occur in older animals, reproduction tends not to be a higher priority for the owners or the animal at that point in time. But if you do have a reduced number of mammary glands, then that can compromise your ability to nurse any further litters. But as I said, because breast cancers are hormonally influenced, having your pet spayed around that diagnosis is going to be also important. So again, older animals tend to have cancers. If your animal isn't spayed, that is something that you should definitely look into.
Okay, and we spoke extensively about how one would, remove tissue to test to have that accurate diagnosis.
Mhm.
But when it is malignant, how is that treated?
Right. So with malignant tumors, you'll be looking at removing a lot more tissue. So most times you have the gland, then you have the connective tissue, and then you have that layer of connective tissue that is over the muscle. So with malignant tumors, you would be removing all the way down, perhaps down to that connective tissue over the muscle. So you remove a lot more tissue. But if it is malignant, then you may have to go to an oncologist to have chemotherapy done. Again, so the information will be based on that accurate diagnosis. Is this cancer likely to metastasize or spread? Is it really going to be curative if surgery is going to be curative alone? Because some cancers, once you remove it, that's it. So based on that, based on the accurate diagnosis, you know what the next steps are. And in terms of diagnosis, the other thing that you're going to be doing is staging. So that is going to be looking at the tumor, the associated lymph nodes, and then we're going to be doing radiographs and ultrasound of the chest and abdomen. Because again, malignant tumors tend to spread. So we're looking at for evidence of spread in the lungs, in the liver, and the lymph nodes. So those are the primary site for spread in breast cancers.
All right. And if it is benign, you just leave it, or you just remove it at the hospital?
So if it's benign, we remove it. And again, the animal is going to be fine thereafter. Because again, removing a benign tumor, again, much less complicated. And a lot of times with a benign tumor, it can still grow and cause complications because it's taking up space, not necessarily because it's taking up a lot of energy, resources, etc., but it may cause other complications. So
right, because it may be leaning on vital organs.
It might be growing, and that kind of stuff. And it may be getting bruised because it's hanging down versus the others. So surgical treatment is the gold standard starting for any cancer diagnosis and treatment.
Right, and based on how it, or the stage of it, that's when you decide whether or not you would do chemo.
Yes, so chemo would again be based on the type of cancer, if there's spread, and of course, accurate staging.
Excellent. And finally, when we look at risk reduction strategies for pet owners, what do you recommend?
Right. So going back to something that we've mentioned a number of times, breast cancers are hormonally influenced. So you would want to spay your animals. That is now a little bit more complicated because previously we would have always advocated for very early spaying in dogs and cats to prevent. So that's based on a 1969 study, so fairly old, where in dogs they showed that spaying before the first heat has a rate of cancer occurrence of maybe about 0.5%. And then between the next heat, about 8%. And by the third heat and older, around 24%. And beyond that, it tends not to have any protective effect. And that's specifically in dogs. But when we reviewed the literature, there was certain amount of, the evidence wasn't as strong. And there was a lot of bias because, of course, when you're looking at pet populations, particularly in cats and dogs, a major social pressure is the overpopulation of pets. So of course, as a vet, you don't specifically deal with cancer, you deal with the whole patient, you deal with the pet population. So that could have influenced the decision for when it should be done. Additionally, with larger breed dogs, because hormones affect the closure of bone growth plates, you tend to have a lot of issues if you neuter them or spay them too early. So you have bone abnormalities, you have certain cancers now becoming more likely. So what do we do? So again, you may have to look at the risks involved. Do you plan to have litters from this female and have a structured breeding plan and then spay your animals? So even if you decide not to spay, the reality is the older the animal gets, the more exposed to hormone therapy, hormone influences, older dogs tend to get cancers more likely than spayed older animals. So at some point in time, you should look towards spaying your dogs. However, that sort of protective mechanism in spaying in cats is a lot stronger. So if you have a cat, definitely spay and neuter very early, because again, the situation is very different with cats. Having a higher amount of malignant tumors and a higher occurrence, you would want to, the risk there is higher. So besides hormonal influences, spaying your pets, you're looking at body condition, you're looking at breeds, and of course, you're also looking at hormonal therapy. Some certain conditions require the use of hormones. So if your animal is one of those patients, then you're going to have to look at the possibility of breast cancer being happening at some point in time. And again, very interestingly, and also reflected in human medicine, male breast cancer is also seen in dogs. And just like in humans, about 1% of all breast cancer diagnoses are male in dogs as well.
Excellent. Well, we want to thank you for, bringing this information to light. And persons can contact you at the Tobago Animal Hospital, just to get their dogs checked and to ensure that everything is okay.
Yes.
And so again, thanks for coming in this morning. And I always look forward to chatting with you and learning more about what's happening with our pets. Guys, we're going to take a quick break right here and we're going to be back with lots more conversation right after this. See you soon.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion starter.
Go in, you have to stop it, you have to stop it. Welcome to my kitchen, guys. You have to stop it, everyone. That's it, that's the intro. Let's do it one more time, right?
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
I can't live without you, I can't be without you for too long. Cause when I'm around you, I feel like the heavens is coming down. I feel it in my soul every time we on the road, it's a miracle.
Blue food came from dasheen locally. We look at dasheen, which when you boil it, you get a blue coloration.
Are you ready for Tobago Blue Food Festival 2024? Join us on October 20th for an unforgettable celebration of Tobago's unique cuisine. Enjoy live cooking demonstrations, local music, and cultural performances throughout the day. This festival has something for every palate. It's all happening October 20th in Bloody Bay. Visit TobagoFestivalsCommission.com for more info and make sure you're part of this one-of-a-kind culinary event.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Now, something is brewing and something is heating up. I don't know if you know, but there's elections happening for the National Executive Committee of the National Union of Government and Federal Workers, and this will be held on Monday, the 28th of October. This morning, I'm sitting in studio and I'm chatting with Mr. Anthony Kalinda, who is one of the prospective candidates for the Tobago division of the Executive Committee, and he is joined by Mr. Sheldon Cooper, who is a committee member. Good morning, guys, and welcome.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Right, so it's excellent to have you. So tell the people a bit about NUGFW, because a number of persons are not really aware of the union.
Right, so comrades, good morning. So, as introduced, I am Anthony Kalinda, the President of the Tobago Division Executive Committee. And the National Union of Government and Federated Workers is like the other unions within Trinidad and Tobago that represents the right of workers within the various employment sectors. We represent workers in the public sector and also the private sector. And on the 28th of October 2024, we will be filing an election to select our national executive, which is primarily responsible for the general operations of the union in terms of how we conduct business on behalf of the membership, negotiations, and other aspects of their social life.
All right. And who is able to vote in this election?
Right. So, based on our constitution, all financial members of the union, once you are a member of the union, you are eligible to take part in this event. Our union is sort of different to how the other unions conduct their business. Most unions use a delegate system, while we have moved to the one-man, one-vote concept, where every single financial member, once they are desirous, could come out on the day and participate in the process of selecting who will lead them going forward.
So are you also encouraging workers to register for the union, or is registration closed and it's just for existing members to participate?
Right. So prior to 3 months before the date of the election, persons must already have been financial members. Yeah? But save and apart from that, we are always trying to encourage workers to come on board and be a part of a movement that fights for the equality and rights and working equity for workers. Yeah? So the trade union movement has been established since 1937. And from that time to now, we know as workers, there is always a struggle in being able to get what we believe is the rights and working conditions of workers improve over the years. And within our organization, there are various structures that we utilize to ensure that that message or the voice of the workers are heard in the form of our shop stewards, our branch executives. We also have divisions executive, and now we are feeling to treat with the national executive within that conversation.
Right, and you are specifically vying for that position of the Tobago president.
Nice. Right, so within our constitution, prior to 2008, even with the establishment of the union, most of the positions, as a matter of fact, all of the positions in Trinidad, the 15 positions that are up for grabs, were held by our comrades in Trinidad. However, in 2008, when Comrade James Lambert took office as President General, there was an amendment to the constitution to say that Tobago must have a seat on the national executive. And in this installment, I'm vying for the position of Second Deputy General Secretary to hold that position within the national executive.
Excellent. And Mr. Cooper, can you tell us the type of employees that are targeted in this union?
Well, good morning. I want to share the live. This is Sheldon Cooper. I also shop steward in my branch. Presently, I'm employed at Public Health. I'm a shop steward at the garage. Normally, basically, well, all voters eligible to vote, whether you're in Roxborough, Charlottesville, each sector, it's just like the national election, same to us entitled to come out and cast a vote.
All right. And can you tell us exactly where the election is going to be held on Monday, the 28th?
Right. We have various, it ain't confirm as yet, but we have various sites. I think one of the sites is at Public Health, Kampong at Signal Hill, Wassa. Normally they have a mobile unit, 2 mobile units for people up in the east, also down in the west. So it ain't confirmed, but by this weekend, the election officer is supposed to give us confirmation on all the polling stations. Because just like the national election, you know, different sections of the polling station. I think a polling station is supposed to be at Market. The Market. Scarborough Market.
Mm-hmm. Right. And overall, this is targeted to those daily paid workers.
Daily rated workers. All daily rated workers.
Within the Tobago House of Assembly.
As long as they are financial.
And you can vote at any polling station.
And how aware are daily paid workers of their rights as we speak?
Right. And you raise a valid point. Being elected as president last year, I am now 1 year and about 4 to 5 months in my term, because our constitution says that every 3 years The workers within the division, in this case, we are talking the Tobago division, selects their leader. And then on another instance, every 4 years, you select your national executive committee. And with me attaining office last year, May, it was very surprising to see the lack of awareness within the Tobago space, and not just the lack of awareness, but a great sense of discontent and displeasure with the union representation over the years. And this stems from this very set process that we are asking members to come out and participate in. Because when you have someone sitting on the national executive that is supposed to be looking after Tobago's interests, that person, along with the division executive, has the responsibility to ensure that the union is present, it's felt, and it is adequately representing the workers within the division. So, with me being the president and this process in front of us, I've made it my duty to move around to all the THA divisions to ensure that our workers are aware that they have the ability to come out and participate, especially on the crux of the outstanding negotiation that we have currently taking place with the CPO's office through central government, where they're giving us that 4% wage increase, which we view is very inadequate for our membership.
Right, and looking at the performance of the NUGFW in the past, do you think that they have adequately represented workers' rights?
Right, so the answer to that for me would be no. Right, so in 2008, when we had our last election, and even in this election coming up, you will see some persons presenting themselves who served on the previous executive for the past 16 years. On my installation as president, when I moved on, one of my responsibilities is to ensure that branch executives and shop shorts in the various work centers are installed. And it was very surprising to know that when I visited some of these areas, persons were saying to me that they have not seen the union for the past 10 years, despite the fact that we had persons serving on the national executive, resident in Tobago, in our office at number 15 Providence Road, in the form of Vidya Peters and these people, and they have been totally absent from the members. And for those members that they might engage with, members are very dissatisfied with the level of representation that they would have received under these persons. And it drove us to a point where our membership had dwindled. And it is because of some institutional administrative change that was taken at the time by our President General in terms of installing a new manager within the Tobago space in Ms. Hyacinth Leander. And with working it out, me as the president, she as the manager, we have been able to get the membership back up on a rise. So we are encouraging these workers to come out and let us continue the good work as we try to clean up and bring awareness to what is taking place and why workers should participate and be a part of the organization.
Right, but did the previous executive have the type of resources that they needed to get the job done?
I would tend to think so, because how our constitution is built, the resources that trade union use, save and apart from those fixed resources in terms of what finances will provide, the greatest resource of our trade union is membership, because our responsibility is the representation of those members. But when you are not representing workers adequately, then you will find that resource that gives you that bargaining power. Our bargaining power as a trade union is the members and the amount of members we speak on behalf of. When you're going to have a conversation with the employer must clearly see that the voice you bring is the voice of the employees. And when you do not treat these employees adequately enough to have them in full support behind you, in full view of the employer, it weakens your position in terms of negotiating.
Excellent. And moving forward for this upcoming election on October the 28th, you are not the only person vying for this position, are you? You do have competition for the post. Who is your opponent?
Well, surprisingly, this post has belonged to the Tobago space for the past 16 years. And the person that is running against me is not from Tobago. It's actually somebody from Trinidad.
Right.
However, you will see that Ms. Peters, who is the prospective candidate for the Tobago space on the other team, she's vying for one of the President General's positions within the organization. And for some reason, they are seeming to hide that from the membership. And I'm trying to understand, myself and other members are trying to understand.
Please
why.
explain it to me, because I'm
All
not
right.
sure exactly what you are saying.
Okay. So within the construct of our organization, we have the President General Office, the First Deputy President General, Second Deputy President General, the General Secretary's Office, First Deputy General Secretary, Second Deputy General Secretary, First Vice President, Second Vice President, Treasurer, First Assistant Treasurer, Second Assistant Treasurer, and then we have 3 trustees in the mix, a deputy trustee and 4 other trustees behind that person. And those 15 positions is what forms the national executive of the organization. The national executive, as I indicated, is responsible for the general administration. But the national executive is also answerable to the General Council and the National Congress. And our General Council will encompass the branch executives within the various divisions, general branches, and sections. So it is very important that that structure exists so that we can hold to account the people that we elect in the National Executive Office. And we hear the narrative being spilled about that Comrade Lambert, who has held the helm of the organization for the past 16 years, would have been operating the organization from an independent standpoint. In my view, that does not make any sense, because we have the structure built into our organization that gives the opportunity for him to be accountable to the membership. Yeah? And Tobago must have a voice in that whole structure. Somebody must be representing the Tobago interests in that respect. Let me give an example. We have assets within the Tobago space. Primarily, we have a piece of land that was given to us by the THA. As soon as you pass Roxosec leading to the Bloody Bay Road, there is a parcel of land, a couple acres that the THA give to us, the union, for the purpose of housing for the daily rated workers within the Tobago space. And for the past 16 years, with this person sitting at the helm of the Tobago space in terms of managing Tobago affairs and reporting and being involved on the national executive, absolutely nothing has been done with that parcel of land in terms of the Tobago membership benefiting from that housing, despite the fact that the arrangement with the THA was, as soon as we get some sort of development taking place there, other lands will be allocated on the other side of the island to allow for members that live in this end, on the western side, to be able to benefit from that housing benefit. These are the sort of administrative things or administrative processes that the national executive engage in. When I became
so in your capacity as second general secretary,
yes.
if you do win the election, would you then be seeking funding on behalf of the Tobago division to have that land developed, to have that housing facility available for daily rated workers?
But of course, because the first thing that we have to do is we already have the title, we have the deeds and everything, because as president, when I did the investigation, because that was one of the primary concerns raised by our members while we engaged them in selecting the president for the Tobago division. So one of the first things we have to do is we'll have to engage developers and have some proposals presented to us in terms of what will be the most suitable housing arrangement based on the demographics of the land. And then we will present that to the national executive and then have a conversation with the workers. And then we go now to try to see how best we could allocate the funds to be able to start a project like that to benefit the members of the Tobago space.
Excellent. Now, I want to thank you so much for coming on and not just campaigning, but also enlightening the people of Tobago on what is actually happening on the national committee. Now, before you go, talk to the people, talk to the daily rated workers who are paid and registered members, why it's important to elect you as that second deputy general secretary for the National Union of Government and Federal Workers.
Right. So members within the Tobago space, we would have engaged you in the past with a prospect of building a better future for the organization. All of you all are very well aware of what we would have faced as membership under the leadership of the persons that are now representing themselves in an attempt to hoodwink you to believe that they will come now with something different. 16 years in office, in my opinion, give enough time for persons to be able to enact or engage in whatever they might have had in their minds or in their thoughts in terms of benefiting the membership. Since becoming president, we have really tried to up the bar in terms of our representation. Quite a bit of outstanding matters we have dealt with on behalf of workers, matters that were left lingering by Punchin, who we all know, Kenneth Thomas, Mr. Punchin and Miss Lydia Peters, left quite a bit of matters lingering, and we would have sort of treated those issues. We will build the organization in terms of ensuring currently we have a general council functioning in Tobago, encompassing shop stewards and chairmen and all these people of over 85 members within the Tobago space alone. Education and awareness. A lot of our members were not aware as to why we took a position against the 4%. That 4% that virtually gives a daily rated worker $9.49 a day, $90 extra at the end of the fortnight. So you could imagine a daily rated worker who already has all the commitments that he has in terms of his financial commitments with his banks and credit unions and these things, and goes home with a wage of physically in their hand of $300, and you want the union, the government that is, want the union to sign off on giving our workers an extra $90. That is what 4% means. So we have took a clear stance against that, and we would have been out there in an awareness and education process to ensure that our members know what we are doing on their behalf. It is the first time within the Tobago space that members would have seen the proposals as on the desk of the CPO and currently in the industrial court presented to them, and the contents in terms of engaging them to ensure that the union is properly capturing their interests in terms of the negotiations. Yeah? So comrades, we encourage you to come out and allow myself, allow the other 15 candidates that are fielded on the slate. Team Faithful, our symbol is the scale. You can see it here on my chest, right? Our symbol is the scale, and we're encouraging you to come out and participate. I want to treat it one other issue before we leave. This issue in which persons on the other side have taken a direct attack on Comrade Lambert and his age. Comrades, if you look at our slate, you will see that our slate is filled with quite a bit of young, vibrant persons with a prospect for the future of the organization. But while we bring the youth to the executive and the vision to the executive, institutional knowledge is of utmost importance. And what we are faced with as a team that would have pulled ourselves together with the prospect of representing you is a 4% wage increase and a pending court hearing of the 5th of December. And we are saying that we see no other person within the organization that has that ability to best represent the daily rated workers and the pressures that we have faced for the past 9 years, with the government not willing to meet with us and sit and treat, than Comrade Lambert. Because after this election, Comrade, and we must be careful, after this election, there is only one person that will be able to take that witness box on behalf of the workers and make the representation. And it is whoever is elected as the President General of this organization. Yeah? So we ask you all to please come out on the 28th of October and vote resoundingly for the scale. Give us the opportunity to serve, as we have been doing for the past years, myself and the other presidents that are on our slate. Join Team Faithful and vote for the future of the organization.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And we wish you nothing but the best, Mr. Calendar, in your endeavor. And also want to thank your colleague and committee member, Mr. Sheldon Cooper, for joining us this morning. Again, we hope that all your plans, to fulfill and to adequately represent the Tobago daily rated workers is fulfilled with your victory in office if you do become successful in that upcoming election. So all the best to you and your team. Guys, we want to thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments. But before we go this morning, we have something special for you right after this break. So stay tuned.
The energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear me.
them politics.
Huh?
No, I'm telling you, we turn butcher, he doesn't do them politics.
Talk to who, lady?
She's a contestant for how to next week. She came around the mind, this is someone under maybe not also. Thank you very much for
Yeah, I was really not sure the guys that there is social and political income. Yeah, I worked on this. So it basically creates like a development which is like sustainable.
Hear me now? You hear me now? Alright, let's go to the next one now. Red kilo. Red. In red now? Red. Check again. Check 1, 2. The gain and red. Alright? Cool. Alright. Took up the ear. Turn up the ear. Make sure.
With the
Your head you.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Update. Now, you know, as we count down to Carnival 2024 October, the Tobago edition, a lot is happening here on Tobago Updates as we are one of your exclusive media partners. And this morning we know that music is extremely important and powerful. And to give us her a rendition of the power of music, one of her entries for that 2024 Calypso Monarch here in Tobago. On the 24th of October, we have Mrs. Wendy Garrett, and she is bringing us this morning the power of music.
I come to edify you music, so tuck your ear and receive the word. Though I find so many people misuse it, its vibrations felt wherever it's heard. Music has the power to heal, the power to make you feel like scaling the highest peak, but conversely, it can make a grown man cower, put in question his own power, strip you bare and render you weak. Its presence is neutral, force can be brutal. So be mindful of the spirit we seek. What I'm talking about, stand up firm and shout it. Let it flow from your mouth, cause we cannot live without. Dance and fill the air, wash away your fear. Come up here and share this music. If we respect the music, music won't betray, and we can never accuse it. Whenever it play, give me rhythm. Hey, give me the rhythm down there. Hey, bring the drums and play. Give me the rhythm down there, there. Whoa, hey. Rhythm and rhyme gives it new meaning. Music offer many pros and cons. A constant subject of much screening, utilized as tool or weapon. Makes you stand at attention or gyrate to the ground, even to settle a score, to persuade you on what party to choose. It's strategically used as ammunition in political war. Its vibe can inspire, but then make you inquire, why the hell in God's name I voted them for? So what I'm talking about, stand up firm and shout it. Let it flow from your mouth, cause we can dance and fill the air, wash away your fear. Come up here and share this music. If we respect the music, music won't betray, then we can never accuse it. Whenever it play, give me rhythm. Hey, give me the rhythm down there. Whoa, bring the drums and play. Hey, give me the rhythm down there. Hey, hey, hey. Whoa, hey. Well, right now we experiencing Tobago. Foreign cultures have us on the run. Someone turn my music into gangster. Maybe 6 or 7. Pure violence, they incite. Bodies falling left and right. Have my country singing the blues. So I ask, what would be your legacy? Get rich and die early, cause you measure success by clicks and views. how do we engage young minds in bondage? Well, I know one thing that could help set them free. What I'm talking about? Stand up firm and shout it. Let it flow from your mouth, cause we can. Hey, dance and fill the air. Wash away your fear. Come up here and share this music. If we respect the music, music won't betray, then we can never accuse it. Whenever it play, give me rhythm. Hey, give me the rhythm down there. Hey, bring the drums and play. Thank you.